Happy International Women's Day. And in the spirit of the day, I thought I might come up with a triple feature that celebrates one of my favorite cinematic themes, female rage. So tonight, I got for you Werewolf Woman that came out in 1976, with Ms. 45 that came out in 1981, with Lady Vengeance that came out in 2005. So I do apologize. I'm a little bit tired tonight. I just got home from watching Mickey 17, but I did want to get this one out there for everyone to celebrate all of my international women today. It's a ladies' night, Here's to all my ladies. It's ladies' night. I figured, I gotta hit you with it. But I was just at Mickey 17, which I absolutely loved. I mean, I'm a total bonghead. Um, I'm a total bonghead. There will be at least, you know, two double features that I'm going to have that are going to feature as movies. I definitely want to do one with Memories of Murder. And I definitely want to do one with this very under talked about, I feel like very underrated film Mother. Not to be confused with the Darren Aronofsky Mother. He's a tale for another time. And the thing is about Darren Aronofsky, he's either like incredibly hit or incredibly miss with me. Most of the time, incredibly miss. But I don't like to denigrate an artist, so I'm not going to talk too much shit. But I will just sing. I would like to sing the praises of Bong's mother. I will be talking about that. That's one I'm going to save. Probably gonna save for Mother's Day. I don't know if I can though, because I'm so excited. Like that one, I really doubled it with a good one, with a doozy. So I'm too excited to kind of like wait for Mother's Day, but maybe I will just to keep it thematic. Um, but Mickey 17. I know this is International Women's Day. I know we're celebrating women on this day. But me and the international girlies got together and we convened as we do every year in International Women's Day. If you're a woman watching, if you're a lady, you know because you were there. And we all agreed like it's okay to take a little bit of a bong hit today. It's okay to sing a little bit of Bong's praises. It's okay to be a bong boy today. And that's exactly what I'm doing. So they said it's okay. You can talk about him a little bit because Mickey 17 is something that we should be going out to see in the theaters and celebrating original filmmaking. It is just fantastic. I highly recommend it. And for anyone that actually does read my letterbox, I will be doing a written review on it. I know I come off as a little bit of an idiot, but I am much more of a writer than an orator. So if you ever read my written stuff, you're going to be like, oh, okay, she's not like that much of a fucking idiot. So I will be doing a write up of it because it really, really deserves to be written about and talked about. But today is about my ladies. Today is about my ladies. So we're going to talk about Werewolf Woman. Now, the thing that I love about Italian horror films is that every man is a pervert on a sliding scale of like rather innocuous to completely murderous. And we especially have that range in Giallo films. Like sometimes it's like, oh, it's just a mere peeping Tom to like, oh, overcome with bloodlust and he's the murderer. You never can tell in a Giallo film, which I love Giallo films, but it's like you never can tell. It's like, oh no, that's just a mere pervert. That's not the murderous pervert. But like you meet a lot of perverts in Italian films, which is why I just really love them so much. However, Werewolf Woman has no sliding scale. In fact, all men are perverted sadists who drive women to madness and deserve everything that is coming to them. So, starting at a young age, we got our main character Daniela, and she's fallen victim to the darker side, that lurks among this really beautiful Italian countryside. It's yeah, it's upsetting because it's a very beautiful landscape, but definitely a lot of darkness lurking. And so she gets this sexual trauma inflicted upon her at such a really tender age, and it's been allowed to fester, though. These are not people that confront their issues. This has been allowed to fester into a psychotic deviancy in her adulthood. And it runs in the family. So she has a female ancestor who was literally chased by torch carrying villagers and murdered for inciting like this blood crazed frenzy, where she took the form of a wolf woman, apt in a movie called Werewolf Women. And I would like to say, it's like we're celebrating all women today. Even our women of the wolf variety. We love our wolf women, maybe even especially so. Maybe we should especially be celebrating our werewolf women on today of all days. Ladies, I'm here for you. I hear you. I see you. I'm with you. And if all you can do is growl, let me be your voice today. Uh, Werewolf woman, get into it. Or you were a bigot. Um, so I can't really say, like, with this wolf woman, having said all, like, I can't really say this town doesn't deserve it. In fact, I don't think there's a town that exists that deserves it more. Honestly, it's like this village is like a sort of prison for people that like they may have not committed any crimes, but they deserve to be locked up somewhere. Um, so Daniela becomes obsessed with this ancestral wolf woman, and much like the plot of Vertigo, if the femme fatale wasn't a scam, like not only does she resemble her, she's convinced that she herself may be transforming into this bestial killer. And she obviously has this really like fucked up relationship between men and sex, and so when she hears in her in this house, like her sister has this gentleman caller, and she's hearing these very curious sounds of copulation. So of course she goes, she peeps on him, and she becomes so enraged by this she literally like rips the shit out of this guy, and then concocts a scheme like I should just like throw him over this cliff, pretend like an animal got to him. And then when she's found, she's like near the body, but she's like all shaken and traumatized. So they're kind of like, well, we're not really people who confront our issues. So, like, off to the mental institution with you. Obviously, she's traumatized. Who has time for that? Off to the mental institution. Like, that's something that will solve all our problems. It's just by placing her somewhere under lock and key and forgetting about her forever. And of course, this isn't a pleasant experience. Women in mental institutions, especially going against our will, we don't have the greatest history in the world. um, so, she oscillates from being passive to rampaging, and she's got to kill to escape. And not only the confines of these very oppressive walls, but her desire as well. So, of course, like the first man she sees, because as I mentioned earlier, there is no sliding scale of perversion here. The first man she sees, like, only takes her in to assault her. So then it incites the beast within, and she kills again. And she eventually, though, finds this very sweet stuntman named Luca, and he's really sweet, and he's like this stuntman for Italian westerns, and he even lives on one of the sets. It's like so just like quaint and cute, and he reminds me kind of like what I think Cliff Booth was living like, when he was on his little sojourner with Rick filming spaghetti westerns in Italy. But he's like, it's just like he's so sweet and gentle, and and her life with Luca is so dreamlike, because he's kind and he's gentle, and her carnal vexation is sort of healing, through this. There's a real sexual healing going on. But of course, like with the trail of bodies behind her, there's this like detective on her trail, and then there's her dad that's like, let's only hope we can find her dead. It's better than, finding her like mad with fornication. Really some great male influences in her life, clearly. Except Luca. Luca's great. Um, but that's of course tragically cut short because there's this of like gang rapists. And of course, they see Daniela as just, like love nest and her happiness, and they just want to stamp it out. And they come and they take turns on poor Daniela, and they kill Luca, and they just destroy everything. It's just like, yeah. And then And so she has to go out on the revenge and kill and kill and kill and kill and kill again. And awakening this inner beast once again after it was healing. And but now it becomes, it's like she can't deactivate it anymore. She can't deactivate kind of the savage nature and animal that's living inside of her. And the story kind of concludes when she's like living feral in the woods, like completely convinced, like, I'm all wolf, no woman's left. But of course, like, she doesn't look like a wolf. So everyone thinks, like, hmm, back to the institution with ya, werewolf woman. Werewolf woman. All right, lock that up, throw away the key there. And she, of course, succumbs to a fatal end. And it's like, trauma, begetting trauma until till the darkness consumes her. But not to end on such a dour note with Werewolf Woman, I'd like to mention this has some great wolf makeup in this, okay? She looks so cool. Like the Wolf Woman looks amazing, and it's very like Paul Schrader Cat People-esque. It's very reminiscent of that, which preceded this film actually by a few years. So congrats, Werewolf Woman. You look fantastic. Um, and that leads me to Miss 45. Ms. 45, which is much about the same thing. Although it's takes place in New York rather than a picturesque Italian villa. Same degeneracy though. Although our character is mute. So our main character has mutism, which like makes her an especially vulnerable victim. And she's sexually assaulted not once, but twice in one day, with the last assault being in her own home. And Abel plays the first attacker, by the way, for anyone not in the know. And one of the reasons that I wanted to highlight this film on International Women's Day is the fact that it is directed by Abel Ferrara. Now, he is one of my absolute faves. Um, he's a man who knows women better than they know themselves, and he is an honorary woman in my mind's eye. And also, when I was having the meeting about Bong earlier with all the women of the world, and as like I already like I'm reiterating because if you're a woman watching this, you're like obviously I know this, but I'm just trying to clue the men in, that they told me it was fine. They told me he is an honorary woman in all of our minds' eyes. So it's fine. It's cool. You can celebrate a little label on today of all days. You can do it. You can do it. That's okay. Because he's crafted such a revenge tale that could only work through the lens of his caliber of genius. And of course the main actress, like she died actually very tragically young. So that's like a sad situation. But the thing is like this movie hinges on her work because she has to convey such like dramatic raucous emotions um in absolute silence. And even though this is considered like an exploitation film, and it definitely is, she gives a performance that should really be recognized as a true test of ability. So there we go. I am celebrating a woman. I'm celebrating a woman on International Women's Day. It's not all about the men all the time. So step aside, Abel. Um, but this being an exploitation film, we do get some great gross out stuff, like her dismembering her second attacker's body in her bathtub and cutting him up and putting him in her fridge and cleaning the bathtub out. And of course, she's got this nosy landlady. She's always stuffing her face in where it doesn't belong. We all know those types. And but she's got Phil the dog. So the landlady is I don't want to say really redeemed, but she does have Phil the dog, which is, you know, uh, he's sort of the leading man of this film, I will say. And he's sort of justified to do what he likes. It's like he doesn't know any other way. He's a dog. It's okay. He's justified. He just wants to be in the know. He's not passing judgment. He just wants a taste of one of those Epicurean fingers, that his nose has picked the scent up on, and it just won't let it go. So, he just wants a taste, and it's okay because he's Phil the dog. We forgive him. On this International Day of Women, this is something we also was on the agenda with the with the meeting of the International Women earlier. We Phil the dog is absolved, and he doesn't even need absolution because he's automatically it's okay. He's fine, justified in every action he takes. We love Phil the dog. So she murders again, and this time it's sort of justified too, right? Because it's like, I don't know, this guy startles or whatever, whatever. It's like, it's fine. I'm okay. I'm there with her. Um, and she starts hunting for it. So she starts thrill killing men with varying degrees of sin. So some of them are like, yep, aptly deserved. And then others, it's like, look, they're all men, so like they have it coming in their own way, okay? So like let's not get too hung up on that. Moving right along, it sort of culminates when she attends this Halloween party, aptly dressed as a nun. This vengeful angel passing judgment upon men and their pervasive perversions. You have to applaud her for it. And, she's triggered at this party by this very lecherous boss. And she starts shooting all the male attendees. And she only hesitates when it comes to shooting a female coworker. And this female coworker metaphorically and literally stabs her in the back. Okay, like as she's going on this rampage, stabs her in the back, and she only like the only words that she speaks are her dying words, which is sister. It's called solidarity, okay, and it's exactly what we should be celebrating on a day like today. And you know what? That bitch coworker should do a little reflecting upon her sisterhood and where her loyalties lie. Okay, this was also on the agenda of the meeting, and we all agreed. Just unforgivable, really. She's kicked out. Abel is the honorary woman. Sometimes we have to kick them out to allow some honorary women in. So she was kicked out. She's out. She's out. We consider her basically a man at this point. Um, this is one of my favorite films, okay? It's drenched in sleaze and misdeeds. From the innocence of our main lead to like the grunge of the city and the soiled humanity of men. And she kind of navigates this corrupt world like a graceful doe-eyed waif, supplanting villainy with premature but likely earned justice, okay? She avenges in a way to which justice was blind to her. Okay? And, by the way, a lovely little surprise, not to end on a dour note. Okay. Like, once again, to uplift from the dourness of it all, a little surprise, Phil the dog. Phil the dog, I feel like I already spoiled it. I don't want to spoil it too much about Phil the dog, but this was something that made my blood boil. I almost shut it off the first time I watched it. I just want to wholeheartedly thank Abel, though. I want to wholeheartedly thank Abel. He is our greatest ally for the gift of Phil the dog. Okay? The only man in Abel's world in this whole entire world that is worth a damn. We love Phil the dog. And there it is. Etched in history forever. We love Phil the dog. It's truth, not subjective in nature. We all love Phil the dog. He's the leading man in this film. When you watch it, you'll know. You'll be on the Phil the dog train. Okay, I'm telling you, there's nothing greater than Phil the dog in this film. We love Phil the dog. Oh, he's so great. Um, but let's get back to women. Let's center women again. Not to leave Phil the dog out, but we need to just de-center men for a second. We need to center women again on this International Day of Women. And we need to talk about Lady Vengeance. Lady Vengeance, it sucks because it is playing the movie doesn't suck. I don't know. I mean, it sounds like this movie sucks. I love this movie. Please don't get that confused. It sucks that I didn't go to the New Beverly tonight. I was playing at midnight tonight. And I feel like, this was a huge missed opportunity. This should be late. This is ladies' night. And I feel like we should have gotten them for free. Our tickets should have been comped. It's International Women's Day. We're watching Lady Vengeance. All women who attend, all ladies who attend. Tickets should have been comped. They should have been free for us, And I did think about like, oh, I'll make a man pay for it, but I was like, I don't know. I just, sometimes you're just like not into it. It's like I don't want to like go to the old roster, look one up, and be like, and I have to pretend like you're funnier than me, and your jokes are funnier, and you know more about movies and books and everything than I do. It's like sometimes you just don't want to do it. Also it's like it's a little bit cold in LA right now, and it's like I'm all like warm inside in my jams, and I was making chocolate stout muffins today. So, it's like I don't know. I was seeing Mickey 17 now I'm in, and I was like, I've been really tired. I'm sure there'll be another opportunity. I suck for it. I'm sorry. I should have gone. I'm saying more sorry to myself. I don't know why I'm saying sorry to you guys. But hopefully maybe some of you were there, and you're watching it afterwards and you're like, yeah, you do suck. But this movie, I love this movie. That's why it kind of sucks that I didn't go. Because it's about a woman tapping into her most generous nature, letting men and women alike share and rejoice in her revenge. Our Lady of Vengeance, a unifying saint. So our main character has served a lengthy prison sentence after confessing to a crime she did not forget that she did not commit. I don't know why I said forget. I'm like, I'm tired, like I told you. I wanted to get this video out, but God, I'm tired. Um, so she confesses to this crime she did not commit because at the time she was like this scared teenage mom. She turns to this teacher who, in return gets her caught up in like the murder of this 5-year-old child, and it's just awful. And during her prison stay, of course, she loses the daughter that she was pregnant with, who's been adopted. Now she's like living overseas. I think she got it like adopted to Australia or some shit. Like she doesn't even like know anything about their Korean culture. She doesn't speak the language. Really sad situation. Completely untethered. And during this time, she uses it very wisely, her time in prison. She becomes this model inmate until the day she's released. Um, See, this has all been an elaborate ruse, okay? She's like playing the part, so she's got a lot of time to plot, and she networks, she grinds, all to ensure her success when it comes to this very high concept plan. And that's what I love about Korean revenge cinema. Like the plans are always so intricate and beautiful. Like it's like the most breathtaking architecture, really. It's like nothing about their brutality will be left outside of their very meticulous planning. And it will also almost always be disproportionate. Okay. Like that's the thing. It's like being locked away is recompensated with inordinate torture, where where the gift becomes death. Okay, you're like begging for death. And Park Chan Wook has this real obsession you'll find throughout the Vengeance trilogy with being imprisoned. So it becomes like this very hyper focused nightmare for him uh throughout this trilogy. And when I say trilogy, it's not a trilogy. It's like a spiritual trilogy. Um, as well as these sort of affairs with, well, you know what, like here's the thing. If you haven't seen Old Boy, not gonna spoil it. Like no one likes to be that guy who spoils Old Boy. Go watch it if you haven't seen it. I'm assuming everyone who's watching this, you've seen Old Boy, but if you haven't, I'm not gonna spoil it, but I'm just gonna say like you'll see some similarities between these like parents sexual fascinations. you know. But that's all I'll say. I fear that I probably spoiled it too much already. But yeah, it's kind of interesting watching these movies and kind of seeing the parallels and stuff. But however, I just want to say, like when I mentioned disproportionate torture and all that kind of stuff, don't feel too bad for Our Lady's victim, okay? He's a child murderer. And like the thing is, he's picked these victims simply because they got on his nerves. It's just like, yeah, that kid's annoying, I'll murder him. And so I really feel like the torture in this one is the most profound. It's the most unrestrained of the Vengeance trilogy. Because not only did this guy like murder these very vulnerable, innocent lives, he tormented their families on top of it, leaving them this kind of flicker of hope only to just like hit them with despair, like this train of despair at the end of the tunnel. And he kept tapes and mementos of these crimes. And so, really, it's like, you know what? There's not enough violence that he could be subjected to that we're really going to evoke like any sympathy from us at all. He's committed crimes that like even the most benevolent God isn't going to forgive. In fact, the only benevolence displayed is between the families of these murdered souls, because of course it wasn't just this one 5-year-old, it's several afterwards. And like I said, she's locked into her generous nature, and inviting these people into this agreement to like, we're gonna come together for this catharsis, and then part ways. Just broken in another way now, though. It's like, yeah, sure, maybe an eye for an eye makes the whole world blind, but at least this piece of shit finally has met something he won't be walking away from. And ironically, our lead works in a bakery, which makes the ending so extra bitter, I think. It's like art reflecting life. It's like some things just never heal, and absolution might be non-existent. And tofu was a huge symbol throughout the film. The main character even imparting upon her estranged daughter, like, be more like tofu. And it's like I get the representation of it. I totally do. It's like I get the representation of purity. Like it's white. There's like this like bland, plain nature to it. But the thing about tofu is that it's created to absorb. Anyone who, is familiar with cooking tofu, it's like it changes shape and texture and taste and color by how it's prepared. And it just really is a representation of like we have as much choice as what surrounds us. And there's some things in life, for better or worse, that once done can't really be undone. And, it's sort of left to this very subjective nature that relies on context. Like, can anything ever truly be forgiven? Um, and maybe so, but definitely not forgotten. Things are never forgotten. Maybe forgiven, but not forgotten. And like, it reminds me of Demeter transversing the layers of the underworld to bring her daughter to the surface. Anyone who is familiar with the rape of Persephone, which is a Greek myth, definitely Google it, look it up. Everyone's kind of familiar in this own way, though. We call it the heroine's journey in narratives. Um, and that's what obviously all of these films follow to a T. And most of like revenge movies, whether the protagonist is male or female, is going to follow this heroine's journey. And like that's what narratives are. Like it's not necessarily gendered. Like you can have a male lead, or um any kind of lead that's following the heroine's journey, and then you can have female leads that are following the hero's journey. So it doesn't, but the reason that it's called this is because it's about Demeter transversing the layers of the underworld to bring her daughter to the surface. So she's transversing the underworld, basically hell, Hades' lair, to allow the bloom of divine femininity to rejoice across the landscape once again. And what all these myths share in common is that everything has its limits. So every year the fall and winter returns to darken and bear the bloom. Persephone must once again, go back and return to Hades' lair. And the difference between the heroine's journey and the hero's is that the story begins when all hope is lost. And it's our assigned pilgrimage to embrace resiliency in any way that moves our story forward. Battles so oftentimes fought in silence, but just as importantly, self indulgences are often obscured from view to protect our purity. Don't forget, ladies, we have agency after all. And how I like to see it, Persephone was not forced to consume the seeds of pomegranate that contracted her to return to the pits of hell for the second half of each year. She was all too willing of a participant in my eyes. A girl needs a little retreat every now and then. She can't glow forever. And we can't let men have all the devilish delights. Let's not forget who invented original sin. So happy International Women's Day to all my sisters. Go forth and bring balance upon the world and return the misdeeds it has done upon you as a treat. Thanks for checking it out and have fun watching these three. And I'll see you next time.